Hey, what's up, guys? We live. Thanks for tuning in. It's Nathaniel Evans, Jenny Muhammad for I'm a Daughter podcast. We are so happy to be here with you today with our special guest, Nancy Sicardo. And this is the part two, because last week Nancy messed up somehow. I don't know what happened.
Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me.
Okay, raise your volume just a little bit, Nathaniel. Raise your volume just a little.
I want to mess with y'all. Though. Nancy gonna get me. You know, she see me in real life. You know what I'm saying? I can't hide from there. She see me in person. You know what I'm saying? So,
Now blame it on me.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
he always blaming stuff on me, Nancy. So now you can say, oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the norm, huh?
But
yeah, Nathaniel is never wrong. Nathaniel is never.
She's Swift. She know how to get around that. She know karate and everything. So don't let her fool you. She's sharp. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my
So,
can you raise your audio just a little, Nathaniel?
That's it. That's the loudest it go. What's
Really?
happening?
Okay.
I don't know what's happening today.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to listen to you today, huh?
Yeah, you can go. see, guys, see what I gotta go through. Right? Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I focus on leadership, development, and finding purpose, seeing our purpose and locking ourselves into our purpose in this life. And if we're following leadership, leadership cannot develop without our innate purpose. So when we actually talk about leadership, it's not an outside vessel. It's not an external vessel. It's an internal vessel when we look at leadership. So qualities of leadership has nothing to do with the outside attributes that a lot of people display on a lot of different platforms and a lot of different structures to determine what leadership looks like or determine what success looks like. And that's not what it looks like. So this is what we're here to discuss. Looking at Nancy's path, looking at my path, even Jeannie's. We all have our journey. You see Jeannie got all that green on. So yeah, that's a journey right there in itself. You can talk about money. We can talk about going to the beach, see the sea, it can be
a beautiful green. That's a beautiful green. Many people would say, especially for those that are formerly incarcerated and been upstate, that's the color that they serve us. When we
but it wasn't that elegant. It wasn't that elegant.
A lot of people they have trauma with that color. They don't want to wear that color. I love that color. I don't care what it is.
See, green can represent also positive. It's a positive color, but sometimes our enemies have different things that are positive and use them in such a negative way that it can be traumatizing to people when they see certain colors. That's why they have in the prisons, they paint the walls a certain color. That's why in the hospitals will have certain colors.
It's beige in the prison. They got beige colors.
And because color, really, there's a whole science behind colors. But I digress. I am Jenny Muhammad, your global happiness expert. Today, green represents happiness.
Yes.
Today, green is representing all that good stuff.
It represents a gem to me because that's my birthstone, an emerald. So I love that.
Oh, okay. Well, see.
Turn your audio down a little bit, Nancy. Turn your audio down just a little bit because it's a big echo. I know you got it on speaker, so.
How about
now? Today, and this is for our audience. See, we just have conversation. See, that's the one thing about I Am the Data. It's just one big conversation.
One big
It's just one big conversation. That's why you'll see me always interrupting Nathaniel, because he get on a roll. He'll have me thinking about something, and I just can't wait to say it. So I'll be like, hold it up, Nathaniel. Hold it up.
Yeah.
I have to say this. But today, I am grateful to see you again, Nancy.
Thank you.
We had
Thank you
a
so much.
wonderful conversation the last time that you were on with us. And you are, to me, a prime example of what it is to be a leader. See, because a leader will take charge of their post. They don't have to be given a title. They don't have to be named, say you are the leader. See, a
Mm-hmm.
leader will find their own way to lead.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
they're self-starters. A true leader does not wait for someone else to give them instructions about what they have to do or should be doing. So you are a true leader because you found a need and you filled it. So I am grateful to see you. I'm grateful for you, Nathaniel. I be talking about you something bad, but I love you, Nathaniel, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful to
That's
be
what.
here every Sunday with you because they say James Brown was the hardest working man in show business. You're the hardest working man in podcasting.
Yeah, I think he's so amazing. Mm-hmm. And
Yes, he is.
he's so amazing. But I just wanted to clear some things up from our last podcast because I was so excited and so overwhelmed, and like you say, I was just going off. You know what I'm saying? But when I was talking about my background and my bio, and I mentioned that I was arrested several times, I mixed it when I went over and watched the podcast. I said I got 37 misdemeanors. No, I don't have 37 misdemeanors. I have 37 arrests. So I wanted to clear that up because I
Okay.
watched it over. So I was like, oh no, I gotta clear this up. I can't just leave it like that,
You
because
know what that is? You know what that is, though. You know what that is?
mhm. What is
That's
that?
post. That's post-traumatic prison disorder.
Could be, and you know what? If it is, I'm correcting it now because I'm in therapy, so I'm correcting
Yeah,
it. But
yeah,
listen,
yeah.
I wouldn't. When I discussed this with my therapist, they agree with post traumatic prison disorder. They agree with that bill. Therapists and psychiatrists agree with that bill. I've been discussing that on our board meetings, because like I told you, I sit on the board on Johnson Counseling Center, and that's the same. Those are the same services that I use,
Yeah.
and we discuss these things, and yeah, my therapist and my psychiatrist feel that that bill should be passed because it's a
Mm,
fact. It's a fact,
mm.
you know.
And that's
Yes.
one of the things. That's one of the things that I love about you, Nancy, is that you're actually forthright. You know what I mean, with your path, with your energy. You know what I mean, what you're actually going through, because this is very essential in this time. Especially with us as leaders, so we don't hold on to things like even the good things in our lives, even the bad things in our lives. To release them, allow us to actually make room for other things. You know what I mean? And make room for new people, for new situations to take place in our lives, and not being selfish. Like, it's a big thing to say, I'm going to my therapist, and my therapist is talking about, post-traumatic prison disorder, right? That's a big thing. And that's also a thing for us to see as individuals, that's striving to be the best leaders that we can, that we have to be able to go to healing processes in order to be able to continue on with this fight. Going to prison, the traumas within prison is, I was talking to a woman the other day. I was at an event, and she said something that was very peculiar to me, and it was very ironic to me as well. And I really want to address it because it falls under post-traumatic prison disorder, and it also falls under Nancy's path, as a woman, and my path also as a man, that's actually formerly incarcerated. The woman was saying actually that, men prisons was worse than women prisons. And I was trying to tell her that there is no correlation between men prisons and women prisons because women are women and men are men. The
Mm-hmm.
reality that take place with men in men prisons, or the reality of those prisons, the reality that take place with women prisons, the reality of those prisons, they are equally the same because they all are entrenched in abuse and harm. and subjugations. You know what I'm saying? And then high levels of servitude, and high levels of servitude. And for us to come out of prison and start correlating one prison to another prison and who got harmed the most and things of that nature actually diminishes the fight that we actually have to do. Right? This is a battle against all of us. It's not a battle against Nathaniel.
No
It's not a battle
discrimination.
against Nancy. Right? It's not a battle against Jeannie. It's against all of us. Right? Jeannie has children that she brought into the land. You know what I'm saying? In 2050, Jeannie might not be here. I might not be here either. Who knows? Right? But our children may be here. And we have systems that can eat our children's lives, or we have peace. We are resting at peace, and our spirits get disturbed because these systems are actually taking hold of our children that we try to protect in this time. We try to let them know that these systems are real. Don't get caught up in fancy clothes, sneakers, and jackets. Pay attention to laws and politics and the change that's taking place in your community. Look at that voting rights and who's voting, what these people is about, because these changes are actually going to come to your community, and they're going to bring forth change against your community, and sometimes even in a negative and harmful way, right? So when we're looking at this path, right, we have to really see that it was harm that was associated to our path, and really dig ourselves into that so we can shake that harm off, so we can prepare ourselves for better things. You know what I'm saying?
And Nathaniel, because prison, see, a lot of people want to separate people that have actually been incarcerated in the belly of the beast, and they don't understand that that affects all of us. What has affected everyone that has been in prison, it affects me. If I've never been inside a prison, I still am being affected by what affected everyone that's have ever been in prison. I cannot separate myself and think
Because
that
as a human, this is what you feel for the next human. As a human, I mean, if you got compassion, because you have people that don't have no compassion, but as a human, of course, you're going to feel if you've never been incarcerated. Just by listening to somebody's story, you like, oh, it's a ooh and a ah, like, oh my God. Yes, we go through these things in prison. So for those that haven't been in prison and haven't experienced it, they're like, oh my God, they have compassion for those that have.
That's right. Because when you think about what prison is, the same way you were saying about taking away your freedom. See, people are under an illusion that just because you're not in prison, that you're free. But see, that is not true. The same thing, the same mindset that actually thought up a way to incarcerate someone and come up with a way to make sure that that person has a problem when they come out of that. Because of that mindset, we're all still in prison. We're in prison.
Yeah, because you gotta look at the beauty of it. And when I say look at the beauty, I'm being very sarcastic, right? You gotta look at it. Individuals create policies, they create prison systems, right? And policies associated to those prison systems. So incarcerate people within their core society, right? They can call them citizens, migrants, whatever they want to call them. But people that's in the core of their society, they're actually incarcerated. Do you actually think that these same people are actually going to create fundamental tools of development for people to exit prison in order to navigate around the trap they actually set inside their laws within society? This is a battle.
Because
this is
we were
spiritual battle.
Studying in this class that I take on Saturdays. We were studying the statistics about the prison system and how they use the prison system as slave labor in order to charge. They'll pay what I'm just going to use a 16 cents an hour prison labor. And they were talking about they even have where they would manufacture the different goods, and we all know about the license plates. About you
about
hear
the garbage cans,
the garbage
a lot of things, clothing, even their own clothing in like what's the name of that prison in California? that real it talk
All
about
I can think about is Alcatraz.
no, it's a prison in California. They make their own clothing, their own uniforms. They make the officers' uniforms,
And they
I
sell
make
them to them,
clothing,
don't they?
but I
they
made my
sell
own.
it for top dollar, and they pay you
Yeah,
16, 17 cents,
I
at the
made clothing.
tailors to make these this clothing, you know.
Yeah, I was a tailor
Yes, that's slavery.
Clinton Dannemora. When I was in Clinton Dannemora, I was a streamsist. I made the uniforms that I wore, right? For other, and I made it for also for other new prisoners that actually is coming in to these spaces, right? I also made mattresses and things of that nature, right? And I'm gonna tell you, there's no certification. I came out of prison with none of those certifications, and we have to look at the trauma that's associated to actually a man's taking a trade. He's working to learn a trade. He's working to redevelop himself, under the premises of rehabilitation and released without those premises of rehabilitation when he's released. He doesn't have any certifications. He doesn't have any letters of support from the administration and things of that nature. These are high levels of trauma. And for us to come out of these spaces and then basically insert ourselves back into trauma to assist other people out of these spaces of trauma is also trauma within itself. We
And
need to,
a lot of us feel that we don't have trauma. A lot of us feel that we don't have
I need to say this, and I need to say this, and I
post traumatic prison disorder.
Yeah, and I need to say this, and I know Jeannie will agree with me 100%. We enter the things that we have to make awareness of. When we want to know something, we have to enter into it to find out what it is that we don't know, what it is that is missing. There's a missing element there. This is why I keep inserting myself into this space. This is not a hobby. This is not a sport. I'm not looking for nobody to recognize me. You know what I'm saying? Or idolize me or anything of those nature. I'm trying to find out what is the missing pieces for this space here, for this system here.
And you know what it is, Nathaniel? You know what the missing piece is the fact that it's set up, this system is deliberately set up the way it is, and there are people that are not going to challenge it because it's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the economics. That's why the prison is on the stock exchange.
It's a business.
On the stock exchange.
It's a business.
It's a business. It is, and they don't want to change it because see, that's one way they say that's what Juneteenth is all about. That the freeing of the slaves. But see, they just found another way to have free labor. It's all about free labor, and they don't want to change it.
Imprisonment.
Yeah. Because Nancy said something earlier, when she was talking about compassion, right? And in these spaces, we're not showing each other the levels of compassion and even the high levels of empathy that we need to crush a system that has a specialized target. And we are that specialized target. There is no other specialized target. We are it. It's a direct arrow pointed at us, you know what I'm saying? And we are actually that billboard that they're actually trying to hit, right? And to understand this, we have to make it our business as leaders in these spaces to crush these spaces and to actually build one another in these spaces so we can have the momentum to fight against all the harm that's going to come to us by being in these spaces.
And how are we going to do that? And how are we going to do that? To come together, because there's an enigma in this movement that we come in solidarity, but I'm not seeing that these days. I'm not seeing that.
That's another trick. See, it's all about, we think that when certain groups come among us, we think that we have arrived, but the real reason that certain people enter certain spaces is to create that disunity. See, as long as we can be that disunity is there. That's why I was saying earlier, as long as they can pit me, who I have never, like I said, I went to jail for 8 hours, and that was the longest 8 hours of my life. So that's my connection with jail. But see, somebody might try to pit me against you and Nathaniel because you have been incarcerated, and they look, so they don't say, why would you want to be united with them? I want to be united with you because you are part of me and I am part of you.
Yeah, and you know, and you got to ask yourself a question, like, you know, even with, you know, a lot of people talk about Christ, a lot of people talk about a lot of the prophets in the Quran and different holy texts, and all these men had something that was in common. You know, they talk to the lowly, they talk to the poor, right?
Yes.
They talk to those that without faith and without hope, you know what I mean, to uplift them and to renew their spiritual bodies, you know what I'm saying, to higher levels and higher purposes. This movement that we're in, it requires high vibrations in order for us to be successful. It requires for us to think extremely outside the box, like imaginary thinking, right? That we can actually put on paper and say, listen, you know, we're going to build a fundamental of this to bring this imaginary thinking, this optical illusion to the forefront, right? So you can
And
see it.
Nathaniel, see, it's not when people think about how this system is set up, see, it's set up where people that have gone through trauma are going through trauma that we don't see. The trauma that I have gone through, it wasn't a prison trauma, but it was trauma nonetheless. You know, if a person has gone through being an alcoholic, it's not maybe a prison trauma, but they're still going through trauma. If somebody has been abused, if you've been on drugs, if you have been in any way where you have been the least of us and you have been mistreated and misused, we are all in the same battle. We're in the same war. And that's why I'm always with anyone that has re-entered this society and they find the same thing when they went in, when they come out, it's still set up for failure.
For failure.
It's set
Yeah,
up.
because you're looking at terminologies, things like re-enter, right, and things of that nature. And these are actually insults, you know what I'm saying? Even when they were talking about the reentry population, it's an insult to us. You know what I'm saying? It's another identifying tool that doesn't identify who we are. It doesn't come close to any semblance of who we are and what we can become and what we have actually done and actually inside the system that actually branded us, right? We got branded inside these systems, and the same system we got branded, and it's a system that we operated. We control the prison systems. We dominated all the educational programs. We dominated all their training programs. You know what I'm saying? We even controlled their dormitories, so there won't be any fights and wars, things I mentioned. I even did those things myself, right? But at the end of the day, to come out into these spaces and to be labeled, right, is one of the things of trauma. You know what I'm saying? It follows us because we're traumatized because we're labeled. And then we got to come out and we got to say, you know, I'm a reentry person. This is another level of trauma, right? I got to describe myself as a person that came out of some dark space, right?
State of mind too.
And then we entered into the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like some portal was open only for like 10 seconds, and I actually was able to get to the portal real quick.
And that's the trauma. That's the trauma of institutionalizing your mind. You know, that's the trauma of institutionalizing your mind.
Yo, okay, so I remember when I got released out of prison in 2007, right? I got released out of Mid-State Correctional Facility. And I remember when I came out that gate, you know, and if the thought came across me was like, you know, wow, I made it out of here. I finally made it out of here. right? You know, I did not perceive I was going to make it out of there, even when I said I was going to be released, even when I was signing release papers, even when I was walking down the corridor, until I actually walked out of that gate, right? Because I've seen many other people who actually did the same thing, signed the paperwork, was walking to the front gate, and they got locked up by the feds for another case. You know what I'm saying? Or things of that nature, and got turned around or got deported, deported to another country. So that trauma is always there. You know what I'm saying? Because, you didn't escape it till you actually walked out of it. But then when you walked out of it, you're branded. So because you're branded, that trauma is walking with you every
and you
step of the
still
way.
not free. Now you got the liquid handcuffs. You still not free.
Yeah,
Now you got the liquid handcuffs now. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? You got the
your
steel ones off, but you still got the liquid handcuffs and the mentality. Because a lot of us walk out there with that mentality and carry the things that we do while we behind them walls. You know?
What else we gonna carry? What else is there to carry? We only can carry those things that we was building upon, those things that was inside of our immediate structure. We can't carry an outside world that we was disassociated with or disassociated from. We only can carry those things that we created inside these structures, and hopefully that we built upon those things enough so when we implement them on the outside world, they would take root. You know what I'm saying? They would bring forth life to us and give us a foundation that we can escape from our trauma of going back into prisons.
I want to ask this because I admire anyone that has come out of such a and you're still dealing with it. Like you said, you will be you may more than likely deal with it all of your life. That's why, like an alcoholic, they say once an alcoholic, you always an alcoholic. Once a drug addict, you're always a drug addict. So you're constantly fighting that demon. You're constantly fighting that trauma. You're constantly fighting it because anything can re-stimulate you right back into the. So I ask you, Nancy, and I ask you, Nathaniel, what is it that keeps you grounded enough so that you don't do like there came a time when you just had to say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to live like this anymore. So what was it, Nathaniel? What was that catalyst that said to you, I'm not going back in there. I just walk out. I'm not going back.
Yeah, it's when I finally realized like where I was at. Like, according to social context, prison is a part of our everyday society. It's a part of our modern society. And you get accustomed to that thought that, especially from the lifestyle I live, that, prison's a part, of that lifestyle, right? And you start blaming yourself, for going into that space or working towards it, and it's like a space of comfort where you're like, this is, I belong here because these are the things that I've done. If I wouldn't have done these things, this, perfect society, wouldn't have judged me in this type of manner, and done these things against me. But while I was in prison and I was navigating through prison, I interact with higher management. I interact with the wardens. I interact with the captains. I interact with the counselors, right? I created programs and I started seeing the elemental structure of prison is for prison to be prisons. I've never seen any dismantlement of the prison structure from the inside out. So this allowed me to understand that this is a social trauma that was actually set for us as people. And because I realized this, I have to do everything in my power to actually escape this reality because it's also a part of my trauma, right? To know that I was actually set up, right, to actually enter to a space before I was born, like many others, is trauma within itself, right? You're seeing so many entities. Even when I started studying criminology, and you started seeing that so many entities was connected to the prison system, so many occupations were connected to the prison system, and you start saying, whoa, that this thing right here is a beast, and it's feeding all these other entities, And these other entities are ensuring that this structure never goes nowhere because it cannot survive without it, right? And that's when I started realizing, what is my purpose for my own life, and it started seeing like what I was doing there. I was encouraging people, motivating people, interacting with people, and this is where I see myself, in this time is actually learning these systems from the inside out, so I can actually expose them to my people and actually find ways that we actually start protecting ourselves, not just on a social context, on a spiritual context, but also on financial contexts. So we're not find ourselves back into these traps, because most of our entrapment is associated to finances, is associated to economics, right? And I believe that
And
through this
Nancy,
journey,
you,
yeah.
what was the catalyst for you that last time that you walked out of the belly of the beast? What was it that made you say, I am not going back in here again?
I'm not going to be hungry the way I was in there. I'm not going to be barefooted the way I was in there. I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be lonely. I got too much potential. My trauma alone is my lesson. My test is my testimony, So not wanting to suffer, not wanting to be on drugs. Just think about the way I was when I was out there strung out, looking all skinny and horrible, robbing and stealing and drugging and jumping out of fire escapes and buildings just to get that bag of dope. Like, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back to that. And that for me was the end. The end.
And I'm gonna say this because there's always something that will happen. I remember, Nancy, when I decided that I was not going to be abused anymore, when I was thrown out and I was on the street and I didn't have anywhere to go. And I said to myself, I will never put myself in a position again where somebody can just throw me out and I end up on the street. I would never put myself in a position like that. And that, I think, is when we make that crossover from being victim to
Mm-hmm.
survivor.
To
When you make
survivor.
it, yes, you
Mm-hmm.
stop being a victim and become
Mm-hmm.
a survivor,
Mm-hmm. That's right. A warrior at
a
that. A warrior.
warrior.
A warrior at that. Because my insanity is my sanity. And that's what keeps me sane. And I say that all the time. All that madness, I remember all that madness. I keep it up front all the time. I remember where I came from, how I got there, what I had, what I lost. I don't think about what I lost. I don't dwell on that, because those are things you could get back. But I just remember all the ugly that I've seen, all the ugly that I did to myself, that I did to myself. And let me tell you something. When I woke up May 31st, 2023, and I hit that 60, a lot of us would say, I'm not supposed to be here. The first thing I said was, thank you, Jesus, because I was supposed to be here, and I am here. I made it my business to be here, and with the help of that man up there, he helped me be here also, but I fought hard because I said, I'm not going backwards. I'm not going backwards, and that's trauma, man. And I remember that, I remember it,
And
So
it's important to remember, Nancy. It's really important to remember, because if you don't remember it, and see, you can remember it and not wallow in and have that self-pity experience about, but you take responsibility. Like you said, you take I'm the one that put allowed
self in that
myself
in
to
that
be
that
there.
that position. Mm-hmm.
Right. I allowed it. Nobody made me. do the thing to be in the place. Although some people are, I'm not saying that's everybody, that some people are forced into a
Yeah.
certain lifestyle.
Yes, they do.
But
Yes, we do have
I
those.
had to say to myself, I was not forced to live the way I was living. I was not for it was it I did that. I accepted that. And so I knew that the same way that I allowed myself to be in the position I was in, I could start coming up out of that same position because I decided I did not want to be there anymore.
Anymore.
And I was not going to be there anymore. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because like you said before, you are worthy of being treated with respect.
Mm-hmm.
You're worthy of that, you know. And I
Absolutely.
really, that's a birthright to me. That's why
Mm-hmm.
my company is Freedom to Live. Freedom to
Mm-hmm.
live is a birthright.
Mm-hmm. That's
And I
right.
claim my
I love
birthright,
that. I love that.
you know.
Freedom to
And
live.
so,
Yeah.
but thank you for, those answers, because it's important, I think, that everyone understand that no matter where you may find yourself today,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what position you may find yourself in today, that's not a life sentence. As long as you got breath in your body, as long as you have breath, that's an opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to come up from wherever we may be. And it starts with a mindset.
That's right. It's the mindset. Mm-hmm. It's the mindset. It's your mindset. Because if you
Mm.
tell yourself it's a no, it's it. It's a wrap. It's a no. I'm
You
one. I
know,
have willpower. I have willpower. I know I have willpower. I have willpower. I've done things. For instance, cigarettes, smoking cigarettes. That's a hard thing to stop. You know, there's a time where I was like, you know what? I'm not smoking no cigarettes, and I'll put a cigarette down and won't smoke a cigarette. You know what I'm saying? I did that 10 years ago and never picked up another cigarette.
Yeah, you
You
you know
know?
what I did, Nancy, when I decided I was gonna stop smoking cigarettes? I would stop and I would start and I would stop and I would start. And when I would stop, I would find myself asking other people for cigarettes because I may have thrown away a pack of cigarettes a week ago and now I'm bumming cigarettes. So I decided to buy me a pack of cigarettes and just keep them with me, but not smoke them. Now
Not smoke
that
them.
was
Not
willpower.
smoke them. Mm-hmm. That's
That was
willpower to have them and not smoke them.
yes.
yeah,
To
and that's
have
why,
them and not smoke them.
it's imperative, for us that actually call ourselves reentry leaders, that's actually in the space of reentry, regardless of what positions that we find ourselves in, regardless of who we are in the nonprofits, and we're advocates and we're independent leaders, right? To know that when we go into these spaces, we're going to these spaces to find out how to release ourselves from these spaces, from the trauma that's associated to these spaces, in order to free one another. You know what I mean? You may entice us with your money, you may entice us with your positions and your titles and things of that nature. We could buy our wives and our husbands little trinkets and things of that nature, and go on vacation and things of that nature to make us think that we arrived. But as long as these systems of harm are in place, there is no arriving. Right? As long as these systems are able to recycle us from generation to generation, from generation to generation, there is no arriving. There is no, I became successful, right? And looking at this journey, and I know, personal experience that it can actually become tiring, right? And you're like, you know what, forget about it. I'm gonna give up. It's no real players in this game. People, it's too top heavy, or all these different explanations that we may use. You know what I'm saying? That we deter from our path. We have to stop using those explanations, right? The reason being is that we're not here for any of these people that's in these plat, and that's on our path that we're in, right? We're here to connect our path with the other paths of others. But we're not here to acknowledge their path above our path. We're not here to worship them. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to put them on pedestals and things of that nature. We're here to learn the strengths and qualities and insights of one another so we can apply them on many different forefronts so we can crush it, you know what I'm saying, to a little pebble, right? And if this is not our energy, if this is not our purpose, there's no reason to read the Bible, to read the Quran, to read this holy text, to learn this education, to have these positions, and we're not going these spaces to dismantle it. It's basically like, for instance, I hire you and Jeannie and say, listen, we're going to fix a bike. We're going to make bikes that don't work. And we're going to make sure that these bikes is the highest in the market. And we're going to become multi-millionaires doing this. No, we're not. So we go into systems that are bikes that don't work, and we don't dismantle those systems that are bikes that don't work. We're right of nowhere into no sunset. You know what I'm saying? There's no arriving. There's no success that you have achieved. Because when you close your eyes, guess what?
You ain't taking none of that with you.
You ain't
taking none of that with you.
That system that you was a part of is still here. You close your eye, but that system is still here. That system that you were selected to dismantle according to your strength, your witness, and your spiritual gifts, guess what? It's still here when you close your eyes. And while you're here, you're going to say to yourself, I will not be able to dismantle the system while I'm alive. So you're going to make peace with the fact that you can't dismantle the system. And you're going to encourage others to make peace with the fact that they can't dismantle this system. And it's going to be here for centuries to come.
Oh, wow.
Under this concept.
And see, when you say that, Nathaniel, the fighter in me comes up. The fighter in me, I'm like, oh, no. Oh,
yeah.
no. I mean, because to accept the way it is, to me, that's death. You may be walking around, you may still look like you're alive, but you are dead. The moment you say, I just accept everything the way it is, I am not going to be speaking against this anymore. I'm just going to accept it and encourage everybody else to just accept it. You are dead. And you are encouraging other people to be dead.
To be dead also.
See, now, and that's why one reason they don't want you in their systems, Nathaniel, because you refuse to be a walking dead man.
I see what they're doing, you know, and I've seen it from the inside out. You know, I see it from the nonprofits, I see it from the advocacy spaces, from the Albany spaces, the political spaces. I see this collective structure that's not moving, right? It's not pushing. You know, like when you go through evolution and there's a mountain that's actually in the way. There's a mountain that's in the way, evolution, and it's like, you know, we got to move this mountain in order to open up this terrain so people can start building here, because the universe knows that we are increasing in number, so it's going to make accommodations to us as we increase. So it's going to evolve, and they're going to move things out the way. And sometimes they're going to take these mountains, they're going to push it right into the sea, right? We have this mountain here. We have this collective strength and awareness of this mountain that has to be moved, and we won't collectively push this mountain into the sea. We allow it to stay right there in our faces and just marvel at it. It's like a David and Goliath. It's like David saw Goliath there and said, you know what? I'm not gonna hit him with a slingshot. I'm gonna charge this giant with a sword, right?
No, you know, wisdom. You're so right about that.
Wisdom. Like, we're not using wisdom when we're attacking these spaces, and we're not trying to push these mountains into the sea. We can start with the hills. You know what I mean? We can build ourselves to push the mountains, but if we're not pushing the hills into the sea, and we're not pushing the mountains into the sea, then what are we pushing?
What are we pushing? You know, people, when they hear this, they might gonna say, well, what is she talking about? Like, really? You know,
listen,
all this screaming and all this shouting and all these signs and all this carrying on, I've been doing that for a long time. And you know what? We still in the same dialogue.
Yeah, but I
The
got
same dialogue.
And
But
you
I
know
couple
what,
Why
that
ain't
Nancy?
you at this rally,
This
Nancy?
system,
Why
yes.
ain't you at this meeting, Nancy? I don't see nothing moving.
And this system, as
I
long
don't
as you
see
carrying
anything
your
shifting.
signs, as long as you shouting, as long as you carrying a sign and marching, they don't care nothing about you marching. They don't care nothing about you marching.
They hear you. They hear us. They hear us. They're ignoring us. I don't like to be ignored. I don't like to be ignored. I'm not going to put myself in a space where I'm going to be ignored. You know, and just because I'm not in that space don't mean that I'm not doing the work. You know, just because I'm not in your space or in that space doesn't mean that I'm not doing the work.
And that's what you said earlier. Like people may look at it and say, "Hey, what Nancy's talking about?" And when I look at this thing, I say, "You know what? It doesn't matter if you determine what I'm talking about or not, right? If we're not in the same rooms, you know what I'm saying, with the same energy and space to bring forth change, then our conversations are futile, right? You may have a different approach than me. I don't have a problem with that, right? But if we have the same agenda, then we good. We Gucci. Right?
That's what it's about.
If you
Being
got a
on the
different
same
agenda
page.
than me, yeah, I mean, like, if you want me to pay, kiss the master toe, I'm not gonna do it, right? If I'm not gonna fall into those spaces like that, because once you fall into those spaces, you can't get out of it. You can't exit, and you have to be very careful. It's like when they say it's easy to go to prison, hard to get out. It's easy to go into these spaces, but it's hard to get out.
Hard to get
when
out.
The man's tell you, I'm gonna give you $100,000 a year, and you're like, okay, what I gotta do? Well, you gotta do X, Y, and Z, and you might see some things that's not good with that, but you're like, you know what? I'm getting $100,000 a year. I gotta do what I gotta do for me and my family, right? When you see policies are not changing, even though you've been in these positions and policies are not changing, right? And you're not making no change in the policies and you're not fighting them against the policies, then it's like, okay, man, I gotta do what I gotta do for me and my family. I'm just gonna let everything just go under the rug.
I'm not doing all that. I'm walking away. I'm not doing all that.
See, that's me, Nancy.
I'm breaking out. I'm not doing all that.
I don't accept money.
I'm true to who I am. I'm true to me.
If in my business, if I cannot afford to do what I want to do, I'm not going to accept money from someone else that will want to be able to tell me.
I'm not doing all that.
What I have to do. I'm not doing it either, Nancy.
I'm not doing all that. I'm sorry.
Me with your money.
No, I'm not even sorry. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it.
I ran into Missy. I ran into Missy the other day, Nancy. You know Missy I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So I ran into Missy. I went to an event at WCJA, and I ran into Missy. And Missy had said something that was very profound to me. She's asked me what I was doing. I was like, well, I'm not working for the nonprofit. I don't have nobody payroll for the advocacy species. I'm just doing write my book, my podcast, and going to school and get my master's. And she's basically like, what are you going to do with the master's? And she's actually correlating the master's, to working in a nonprofit and helping the nonprofits like get to that next level and things of that nature. And I was like, I hear what you're saying. I said, but the Most High has something in store for me about my path, and I'm just going to wait and see where He's going to take me, right? And so I'm just going to sit here and be silent and be still, so I can get to my next level. But it's something that she said, and if there's any advocates or any leaders that actually want to look into these spaces or nonprofits, she said this. She's been in the nonprofit industry for probably over 30 years, as long as Nancy. And she said the nonprofit and the advocacy industry do not have great retirement packages.
Do not have what?
Great
retirement packages.
They don't have retirement packages.
Oh no.
They don't have retirement packages.
See? Look at this.
If you don't have a grant and if you're not getting funding, you're not getting no money. So if you're not in it, if you're not passionately in it, and if your heart is not in it, you understand what I'm saying? And you worried and you thinking about the money, it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So
but that's something that's
why if you have to be passionate about the work. If you're gonna do the work, because a lot of people, like you said earlier, they feel like they got a little grant, they got a little money, they've arrived. They feeling beautiful, they're feeling lovely, you know?
Yeah.
Are you retiring? Do you have a 401k? You know? Like, there really different reasons too.
Yeah, I mean, 90% of people that's in these spaces are doing the work because they are the work. They need to understand that. They are the work.
I love that.
This is why they're doing the work. They are the work that they're doing. They're
oh
not
my
doing
God.
anything different
than
who they are. They're not doing anything different than who they are and what they represent to the world. They have come into the world in a certain space. They have come into the world and lived a certain lifestyle, a criminal lifestyle for majority of them. Actually went into prisons because of this criminal lifestyle, right? Now they got to undo the harm and undo the pain of their association with this lifestyle, of all the men and women they harmed before they was incarcerated, people that they killed, people that they mugged, you know what I'm saying? People that they maimed, you know what I'm saying? People that got strung out on drugs, people that got their kids taken from them, things of that nature. So much harm that's not being put on the table, that's actually being whitewashed and being placed with illusions of titles and associations. I got a car, I got a house, and things of that nature, but forget about the harm, the real harm you did in your communities before your incarceration.
And they're not fixing themselves. They're not fixing themselves. They're walking around tu-tu-tu-tu-tu. You understand what I'm saying? And they're not fixing themselves. And like you say, they listen. I don't want to say something.
You're doing the work. You're doing the work because you are the work. Don't disassociate yourself from the work. Don't make it something that you're greater than the work, that you have created a higher energy for yourself in the work.
You are the work.
Yeah, you are the work.
Don't get
deceived. Don't get deceived
are the work.
about you are the work. You are the body of work. The work that you're doing, you are that body of work. That's why you seek it. That's why you do it. That's why you do it. There is no separation. That's right.
You are the work. Let me tell you something. Anywhere I go, anything I do, anybody that wants to get involved with me, I'll let you know. Wednesdays, 3:30, I don't play. I don't play Wednesdays, 3:30. That's my therapy time. I don't play. I don't care what work I'm doing. You know, I'm like I'm respectfully like a Muslim, like I carry the Muslim religion. I pray wherever I go. I get my therapy whenever my therapy time is there, I'm going to therapy. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't play with my therapy because I need my therapy. I need my therapy.
Right.
I need my therapy.
Right.
I need my therapy.
And a lot of, we all really, when it comes all down to it, we all need therapy. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's just that some of us get our therapy in a different, a different way.
But I say that to say, you know why I say that? Because you got a lot of people in the movement, that, like Nathaniel says, when you talk about, like, I could be out. Somebody could say, Nancy, we going to we having a rally today at 3:30. It's Wednesday, 3:30. I can't go to that rally because I got therapy at 3:30. Oh, girl, you could do that another day. This is gonna be on and popping. I don't care about that. My therapy is more important to me. And I say that to say people walking around doing this work, talking about trauma, talking about this, talking about that, but they are the work. They are the trauma.
And Nancy, that is self-care. That's self-care. And Nathaniel, that's I'm on that because unless you can take care of yourself and you're going to go out there and advocate for other people, but you're not taking care of yourself, then that to me is how can you really go out there and say to someone else that, okay, you're traumatized and I'm going to help you, and you're not helping yourself. You're not going to your therapist, but you're going to go out there and help somebody else that's
screaming and shouting and pounding the pavement and all of this. But you ain't right upstairs. No.
Yeah, we are the body that work. You know, when you get into, you know, when I was actually doing some volunteer work, you know, and I wasn't even working under Vocal New York. I was working on another agency, but Vocal New York had called me and asked me, you know, get arrested, you know, during some petition that they was having, and I was like, I actually declined, you know, to get arrested, you know, and it was like, you know, me declining to get arrested was kind of like, you know, some form of disassociation with me in that organization because I wasn't on board to get arrested. And it was like in a moment, like, you know, it was like, you know, just call my
They wanted
phone.
you to. I don't
You're
understand.
willing to get arrested.
Yeah, called my phone. It was doing some type of protest, and it was actually somebody. One of the leaders said, you know, one of the basic steps of branding this movement would be for people to get arrested. You know, and I was like, well, you know, I'm not trying to just get arrested just to show that I'm a branded part of this movement. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Oh no,
you know, we
that's
could have
just
been,
like in order to be a part of a
talking.
gang, you got to go out and kill somebody.
That don't make no sense.
And after that happened, you know, it was like this big, you know, thing of contingency that actually took place with me with other organizations, you know, especially within the advocacy movement, because, you know, I'm not going to be the sacrificial lamb. First of all, I need to be a part of these strategic planning structures that you're actually doing, especially if you're going to basically implement me in it. I didn't even know I was a part of a conversation of being reincarcerated, you know what I mean, even if it was for 2 minutes, right? I wasn't a part of that conversation. Even if it's for 30 seconds, I wasn't part of that conversation. And for me not to be a part of that conversation would be determinant of I increase or not in the movement was actually, you know, a disservice to me as a leader that was actually in the movement already. And then you're going to characterize me according to what I did and didn't do to determine I move or not in the movement. And when like Glenn Martin be talking about cancel culture and things of that nature, you know, paying attention that because you may not do certain things, you may fall under this thing of what they call cancel culture and stuff like that. And if you do, don't even worry about it. Keep moving, keep structuring, find other leaders that's out there, you know, find your new niches that you gotta find. But don't let nobody take your gas away from you. Don't nobody take your energy away from you.
That's why I call me a one-man band.
Yeah, to allow you to continue to do what you gotta do.
That's
know?
right.
And
that's right. And see, and don't let anyone try to, you know, gaslight you and try to shame you. Like if you don't go to jail, then that means you're not really with the cause.
You're not really
well,
with
you
the
can say whatever you want to say about
me.
Yeah,
man. And you got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with that because this is trauma. This association with trauma, and a lot of our leaders fall under this different level of association with trauma. And even though they may make money and you know they may see themselves to be successful, that trauma is still there. You know that trauma could be hiding for 20 years.
Listen,
while you're in this high embrace of success. That trauma is hiding like this. Like we can't mess with him now because we let him know we really here. He might come and try to attack us, and we're gonna wait until he come down a little bit, and now that trauma comes back out full circle. You know what I mean? So
ain't no way in the world.
Careful.
Ain't no way in the world that you've been incarcerated 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years and better, and you're gonna sit there and tell me you good.
No, you're not.
Ain't no way in the world. Ain't no way in the world.
Well, and I feel the same way with any black person that is in America, and you gonna tell me you good, you black in America, and you gonna say, "Oh, I'm good, I'm good." No,
ain't no way
you
in the
black
world.
and in America, you black and been in prison, you black and you being abused, you black, you on drugs, you black, you on alcohol. No, you are not good.
Okay, you're not good. You're not good. You're not good.
And that's why, and this is one thing, you know, I'm Muslim and this is one thing that we always say, that whenever you go to the mosque, you go into the hospital. You know, because all of us are sick and all of us need treatment. You know, you can't be walking around talking about I'm good, I don't need I don't need to be told anything positive. I don't need to have my vibration level rate. I don't need, I'm good. You know, no, we are all sick and we need constant treatment. So that's why I say, Nancy, yeah, you keep going to your treatments and don't let anybody tell
Oh,
you.
not me.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with stuff. I'm dealing with stuff, and I want to be able to sleep
Yeah,
good
we
at night.
all dealing with
I
stuff
want
that
to be able. I want to be able to sleep good at night. You know what I'm saying? I've had plenty of nightmares. I've had plenty of nightmares, and I want to sleep good at night. You know, and that's why I'm transparent. I'm transparent. I'm true to who I am. Whoever don't like it, hey. People have asked me, Nancy, you good? No, I'm not good. What you mean you're not good? I can't even say I'm not good. I can't even say I'm not. No, I'm not good. I'm not good right now.
That's right. And,
I'm not. I need
and
to
they'll
speak to
be better
somebody.
if they realize they not good either.
I'm
But
not good right now. So, you're not good. No, I'm not good. Oh, well, I don't know what's wrong. Wow. So I'm not even entitled to say I'm not good. I'm all right with it, because I feel myself, I feel
Definitely.
myself. I could pinch myself and feel myself, and I like that. I like
and
that
you
I can
know
feel
what,
myself. There was a
Nancy,
time where I was numbed up for a very long
and
time.
you know what, Nancy, me being a happiness coach, see, that's what it is, being a happiness coach is to know when you're not good. It's okay. You admit right now I'm not
Mm-hmm.
good, because it's not a 24 hours, 7 days, 360 thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
You have to
something
be
you
honest with
constantly
yourself.
have to work
Yes.
at.
Yes.
You have
You
to be
have to
honest with yourself in
constantly
this life. Yeah,
work at it.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with
But
that.
hey, it's that time.
Hey,
It's
that's
that
right.
time. It's that
Wow.
time.
Wow.
It's that time.
Yeah. It
Thank
Wow.
goes
you,
so fast. It goes
everyone,
so
for
fast,
being with
man.
us today.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you for
you
having
so
me.
much for sharing your space with us today. Be sure
You're
to
welcome.
subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to join us in this movement of us being able to raise our vibrational levels to the point where we can love each other, unite with each other, and have compassion for each other, in spite of where I may be at this moment in my life. I realize I'm connected to everyone within the sound of my voice. So thank you, Nancy. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much
Thank
Definitely.
you guys.
for
Definitely.
being here with
Thank
us.
you so
Definitely.
much.
And before we go, now we didn't do this the last time I think you were with us, Nancy, but I like to end on a note of us really meditating and really relaxing and really understanding and finding a measure of peace and quiet by, if you're in a safe space, if you feel comfortable in the space you're in, please close your eyes. Close your eyes and take a deep breath to the count of 4. Let it out slowly through your mouth as though you're breathing through a straw. Take a deep breath to the count of 4. Let it out slow. Another deep breath. Let it out slow. Again, breathe deep and let it out slowly. Relax, relax, relax. Relax the top of your head. Relax your face. Relax your neck. Move your head. Relax, relax. Relax your shoulders. Up, down, Up, down. Ooh, relax. Your arms, go on down your arms, relaxing. Relax your fingers. Wiggle, wiggle your fingers. Wiggle your fingers. Go all down your body, relaxing as you go. Relax. Relax your legs. Ah, your calf. Oh, your feet. Relax. Wiggle your toes. Oh, that feels good. Take a deep breath. Let it out slow. I'm going to count from 5 backwards, and we're going to take another deep breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath. Let it out slow. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Peace
Awesome.
and blessings.
Blessings
Peace,
upon
guys.
blessings.
Peace.
Ciao.
Peace, guys.